guys, we are back with another episode for the all-wheel drive Dodge Charger. So I am actually presenting this in the future. That last episode was kind of in the past and then the future. Timelines don't even make any sense in the no traction faction world, so there's no point in explaining that. Regardless, this episode I want to go over how we pulled out the drivetrain for this 2016 Dodge Charger that we've been introducing now for the last 2 or 3 episodes, and kind of the work that we've done to get to this point, and specifically the interior. We've done a lot of the interior work off camera. We're not done with all of it, so you guys will see a video probably in a while on how we added the interior and more interior parts we've got to finish, which you'll see here. But I'm going to start with how we took out the powertrain to kind of sum up that part of the timeline for you guys, and kind of move into what we want to do with like the subframe and everything else, building it forward to this point. So and then we'll move on to the interior. So as you guys can see, there is no power plant in this all-wheel drive Charger anymore. It is completely removed. I'll go ahead and throw something on screen right now so you guys can see us dropping the entire engine and subframe from it. So that's transmission, transfer case, everything. It's really nice on these late model cars. You can just drop the whole subframe that just sits right here, the entire engine, assembly, all the lines, etc., with the front suspension, the lower front suspension as well. So those were dropped, so you guys can see here. We don't have anything left but our aftermarket coilovers here, so the brakes, all that went out as well, and we're going to be fixing all that. But yeah, so super easy. By the way, these are BC Racing coilovers. For a while on the car, we had these BC Racing coilovers. The reason we have BC isn't the best suspension company. They're not the worst either. No harm on BC, but the reason is because these all-wheel drive Dodge Chargers are fairly rare. They have the V6 ones that people can still get with the Challengers and Chargers. The all-wheel drive cop cars with the V8s are very similar to that. And there's really only like 2 companies that sell all-wheel drive components in the stock configuration. Obviously, there's a lot of people that do a Durango Jeep swap on the front subframe. That's not what this build is about. We're not interested in trying to keep that. We're interested in trying to modify the Charger platform as it is. Again, there's a lot of semantics there. A lot of people don't like the style of the suspension on the Dodge Charger because it's the old Mercedes chassis. I'm content with it for what this build is going to be, and I really don't think it's too bad. So I don't know, I might get some comments on that below, that it's ridiculous to keep this when other people go to the Jeep Trackhawk swap. I think you guys will see ultimately why we don't do that, and how much easier it is to simply build up the transmission and transfer case and work on the subframe as is. But that is one of the downsides, is you're kind of stuck with 2 different coilovers. Again, these are adjustable damper and height, so it's still pretty good setup. We will probably be moving to something else on the rear, so we'll be looking at that later on when we start taking out the subframe in the next episode. So anyway, that's the subframe coming out. I'll just quickly jump in. Before we took this drivetrain out, we actually did perform some modifications, again, completely off camera. We ended up putting a centrifugal supercharger on this. It was a Torque Storm setup. That supercharger and so forth, that made about 10 to 11 pounds on a stock 5.7. For those that aren't aware, the stock 5.7 is really a pretty stout engine for what it is. The LSs and so forth of the same years really do outshine it in certain areas, but the Hemi is certainly not a slouch. The only downside is they only offered them OEM in a iron block, so that weight is definitely a lot more than a lot of the LS styles in the cars, like a Corvette or Camaro or something like that. So weight is definitely not on the side of this kind of engine. There are aftermarket options now to put aluminum blocks into Hemis, make entire builds out of aluminum blocks. Definitely worthwhile depending on what you're trying to do, and certainly saves a lot of weight for the Chrysler setups. But anyway, the Big thing is we did have a supercharger on there, so the engine, even though it only had like 16,000 miles or something like that when we got this cop car from, this one came out of Reno, Nevada. Regardless, we put a little bit of boost on it for a while. That was one of our first big endeavors into a large style centrifugal blower, and it did good. I was kind of disappointed at times with that setup in the LX platform. Ultimately, we decided to sell that kit off and returned this back to NA and started this whole disassembly process. Again, since you guys didn't see it, it's not the biggest deal. We've got far bigger plans for this entire project going forward. But this frame and everything did see a little bit of boost under that 5.7. That 5.7 now we're just going to be using for reference, and we'll probably sell down the line because we've got much bigger plans than obviously just a 5.7 for this. The rest here, we've got the cowl kind of taken off here. Not important, but again, the engine is completely out of the car, the transmission, all that stuff. We went ahead and removed it. Very straightforward process. Probably takes about, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 hours on this kind of car to remove it. You know, you drain the AC, you get all your coolant and your fluids flushed, things like that. Very, very simple assembly, like I said, for these late model cars. Nothing complicated. There's plenty of space to get everything that you need to, even with a all-wheel drive system. Honestly, since it's a push rod style V8, the Hemi, there's plenty of space compared to something like a Coyote we see on the Bronco build, or you know, or Japanese dual overhead cam system, V system. It's just a lot more packed on the sides of that. So anyway, not a big deal taking the engine out. We're going to be showing you guys in several episodes what we're going to be doing with the engine and the drivetrain and all that kind of fun stuff. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and now move to the interior. Okay, so the first thing, as soon as we open the door, you guys are going to notice is this definitely does not look like a stock cop car. So firstly, we've got some pull-out black seats from a SRT Hellcat. I was able to get a full deal on these that included the front seats, the center console, and we'll show you in a second the rear seats. These were actually, so these were black leather. There's no suede inserts on those. I think the suede kind of gets a little dirty from time to time, and I'm more of a leather vinyl kind of guy. This actually was black, and then the stitching was white. We went in here and dyed all of the stitching from white to black. I'm sorry. So we actually went in here and we dyed all of the stitching from white to red with some dyeing markers. So I think the kind of red offset in this build is kind of the secondary colors, what we're going for. Again, if you didn't catch it, this is a lot of Demon inspiration. If Chrysler had made a Demon Charger rather than just a Demon Challenger. The thing that was included in that full kit, again, that was a pull-out kit from a wrecked Charger, is the door cards. So we got front and rear door cards. Again, all of the stitching was white originally. We've dyed that red here and replaced some of the parts. And then you'll notice we are also starting to add some of the carbon fiber. I wanted for this build to have carbon fiber as kind of a secondary or third style between the black, the gloss black, and some of the red. So maybe it's more so gloss black is primary, carbon is secondary, and then red is kind of the highlight of the build. Okay, so for a while I was looking at how to build Charger interiors. Now the LX platform Charger interior is not the best, but that being said, there's a lot of different ways you can spruce up the Charger interior to get what I would say a little bit more luxurious. But one of the first things, the biggest one, is a aftermarket carbon steering wheel. These have become a lot more popular on the market for different builds. So usually what they do is they take the core from your own steering wheel and then they add some additional carbon fiber pieces on the primary section. So this is a flat bottom, so they've completely redone the carbon on the wire frame for this one, and then they've added kind of vinyl leather on the sides, and then we're going to have a custom airbag cover as well, still safe and everything. They could, potentially be swapped out for drag racing applications, but regardless, a full cover for this. So the other thing about the dash that's always kind of bugged me is how different dashes for this overlay with carbon fiber. Again, carbon fiber is what I wanted to kind of build this car into for an aesthetic side of it. I haven't done kind of a heavy carbon fiber car before. And the other big thing is, this was a police car. Police cars come with with the very small infotainment system. We replaced the infotainment system. This is a pull-out, I believe this is a UAS model. I think this is an 8.4 inch Uconnect 2 or 3 screen. So we replaced that smaller, I think it's a 5 inch or 4.3 inches with this 8.4 inch Uconnect, much better. This one came out of a 2017. We have not changed the center cluster. We might do that with another charger we have that is a 2017 rather than this 2016. There was a few changes between the 15-16, which was the first years of this charger set of the refresh, and then 17, 18, 19, and I think part of 20 were very similar as well for the electronic side of it. So like the pages for torque management and the other kind of advanced performance pages, we'll be able to access with this as well. I'll show you guys at a later episode. So again, notice we've got quite a bit of a carbon overlay. I try not to go too overboard with it, but in certain areas, this one I think definitely needs to be a carbon fiber section. I'm still may try and find, because this is actually an overlay style on this one. A lot of the other parts are actual genuine, I'm sorry, all of this is genuine carbon fiber, but it's whether it's an overlay or an actual part for this one. So I'm interested in trying to find a actual trim piece for this bezel, for the dash bezel, that is actual gloss carbon fiber. I think for some years of the charger they did include that as an option. It may have not been gloss, it may have been more satin, but that's something that I may still track down in the future to replace this one. Mostly not generally because the aesthetics. I still like to have some black and maybe not all carbon fiber, but the big thing is this has to be a two-piece kit compared to a lot of the Challenger versions of the interior. For those cars, they're able to get away with a one piece, so it's just a little bit more seamless with those. The other big thing, I know a lot of people gripe about this. Actually, it is my distinct preference to have a pull down column shifter. For me, I've grown up on trucks and different vehicles with column shifters from the old days, and having a column shifter to free up space for what the center console will be here, just absolutely, I just love it. I'm not a big fan of shifter columns that are big and protruding. I think it's kind of a waste of space. And I think you can tell on OEMs, right? A lot of OEMs, including I think on the Durango, a lot of the other Chrysler stuff, they've just gone to a dial indicator for switching gears, park, drive, neutral, all that kind of stuff. So it seems like they're getting away from it anyway, and just replacing it so there's more storage and more space elsewhere. Again, it's just a personal thing. There are some guys that swap out the Police Interceptor column shifters for the old one. Again, entirely down to preference. I think it's a lot of work for something that already works perfect. And there's a little thing you do have to modify the, if you're going to do a carbon fiber overlay, you do have to modify that a little bit to accept the column shifter. But honestly, you know what? I think it looks pretty cool. Not too many cars have this. And, you know, at the end of the day, if this was ever manual swapped, this is entirely useless anyway. You can just take it out. So it's not worth doing that. And in the meantime, you know, we could just like spruce this up and make this thing carbon fiber, right? Just to go full send. So for the steering wheel, we're going to be replacing a lot of the switches. The other thing I'll mention is even though this is a column shifter car, this still has, with this NAG1 transmission, the ability to perform shift changes with paddle shifters. All you have to do is literally attach the paddle shifters in through here. Here's one right here. So I'm going to actually be changing out these blades for some carbon fiber ones just to match the aesthetic. But regardless, all of the buttons. The other cool part is, I think on this side, there's some aux switches. So right here, and again, we're going to change this trim out to carbon as well. So these aux switches are really cool. Normally on the police car, they do like lights or sirens or something like that. For the civilian application, you can actually integrate these into different functions of the car, especially with the taser module and application. You can do some really cool stuff with these aux switches. The big one is you can control the transfer case, so you can turn it from all-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive. You can also do line lock. You can do a couple other different things with these switches. So pretty cool little ability right at your fingertips to be able to touch different aspects of the entire vehicle. Did change out this part of the A-pillar interior trim for a gauge pod version of it. I don't think it's too much to spoil that the plan is to definitely add pressure in the form of some type of supercharger or turbocharger system to this vehicle to be able to get it to the 1300, 1400 horsepower mark. And so these gauges are just going to be able to help us look for the main ones: boost pressure, fuel pressure, air fuel ratio, some kind of mixtures of oil or something like that are the big ones that most guys run on gauge pods like this. Or you get a combination unit which can do multiples of those, including, you know, intake air temperature as well. Some of the earlier gen Charger police interceptors do not have a sunglass kind of console section up here, an upper console. I was able to get this one from a just like a parts store, and the cool part is once you cut out where this part goes, because this is all just fabric headliner on most of the Charger models, the police models, the actual wiring harness, which is pretty cool about all these Chrysler products, they keep the same wiring harnesses the same for more than what you would expect for different trim models. So the actual headliner courtesy lights and everything here, the car doesn't have a battery now, obviously right now, but if it did, the garage door openers and the courtesy lights and all that kind of stuff does actually work, which is pretty cool. Again, I think I told you guys this car was a development car, and so there were not many holes in it, but one hole that they did seem to have that may actually be a factory hole when they make the police Chargers is this one for the red light that would go here. So I'm not a big fan of that red light just from an aesthetic point of view. So what we're gonna do is on the Dodge Durangos, there's actually a light that goes right about here for a courtesy light. We're gonna go ahead and add this black trimmed version of that into this section, so we kind of get an auxiliary trim light in this section that kind of just fills in that existing headliner. You could replace the entire headliner. That's obviously another option you could do if you just didn't want to have anything there. This headliner is in perfect condition other than this hole, so I don't really see the point of that in this case. But regardless, there's a couple different options that you could fix this courtesy light here. But anyway, this is a full carbon fiber front dash. We've also done some accents here or there. You guys can kind of see on the door card from this side, and then on the front of the dash as well in different areas, accents on vents and door handles like that. So that's pretty much the front of the car. I took the center console out so you guys can see a little bit better in this lighting. The center consoles in these, a lot of guys who get the all-wheel drive cop cars to convert them into kind of civilian daily drivers. This is a big mod that they'll do because the police Chargers come with like a little section here that mounts the police section, the police tools, the laptop, stuff like that, which is pretty useless because it doesn't have power charging stations, cigarette lighters, USB connections, all that kind of stuff. So they'll take the actual center consoles from a normal Charger and they basically drop right in. It is a very straightforward assembly from a mechanical perspective. Of what is different is the actual harness with how those are added to the car. So this one might be able to show you a little bit better if I tilt it over. We went ahead and added a new loom by ordering a lot of the connectors here from a Chrysler dealership and then splicing them in to the factory center console here. So things like the lights for the ashtray here, and then the Uconnect system, all those come in here with more power lines and media lines and so forth. So you can basically make the police Chargers just as effective of a kind of a civilian car as what you need to any others. So yeah, you can kind of see the top here. We got a USB and an aux cable, power in here, and then the trays that are in here as well. All right, so now we'll move to the back of the car. Again, new door card. That's all part of this kit that came with the rear seats as well. So the rear seats on this one, these were heated rear seats. I don't know if they made a cooled rear seats. You might comment and remind me if they did or not. But regardless, these are heated seats. We have not plugged those heated parts in because you do have to modify the harness for the heated seats front and rear. It is not a terribly difficult thing to do. It depends on how you switch it on. A lot of guys guys try and make it work with that Uconnect system up front, you can do a couple of mods to make it work that way, or you could just put it on a kind of a dial potentiometer and an electrical switch, you know, kind of near the seat or on the dashboard. So not the biggest thing where we live. Really don't need heated seats for, especially for a car that's going to be kind of a race car at the end of the day. So was just really interested in having really nice seats, and again, all black vinyl with red trimming across the board. The other thing that we added are these beautiful tuxedo mats to replace the carpet. I think in the last episode or so, maybe 2 episodes ago, you guys saw that we added, or that we cleaned the whole floor. There was some damage. We ended up replacing the carpet liner on this one, so it's got all brand new carpet when we ripped all this stuff out. And then on top of that, to protect these new carpets, we added the tuxedo mats as well. Really kind of, I think, flares with the black seats that we have, and just looks a lot nicer in the vehicle. Another cool thing you can do, these are the courtesy handles on the top rear. You can get the lighted versions of these from any kind of like parts distributor or eBay or something like that. So we replace the false ones that come in the police car with these lighted ones that come common in all of the normal trim Chargers. One of the big things when it comes to installing the rear seats from a civilian Charger into the police Charger is how these actual rear seats from the police Charger work out. So on a normal civilian car, you can actually take these seats and drag them down, as I'm doing right now, and then that exposes the rear trunk area. On the police Chargers, this actual mechanism doesn't exist for obvious reasons, I think, and what you have to do is you end up having to replace this part, and then there's some additional parts, I think, right below here that you have to replace for the hinges and everything to actually make it a removable seat. So that's really the key. You got to just finagle this. Getting these rear seats is kind of a pain because usually you got to attack them from the top here and push back out. But this is really, I think, important so you can get access to the trunk, especially since the battery on these cars is located in the trunk as well. But kind of just a quick addition so you guys are aware how we converted from police seats to civilian seats. Another thing, we did replace the B-pillars on both sides. I mentioned that this was a kind of R&D car for different police packages, and so there was some square holes, I think, somewhere along this B-pillar. We had another Charger that didn't have those, the same color and scheme, so we went ahead and replaced and just swapped them so that this model would be a little bit more put together. Kind of finish outside of the car and wrap up. I just want to mention again, we're planning on doing some additional carbon fiber bits on the outside. So door handles, we might do these window section as well on the door. Probably not the fuel tank cover, but again, different aspects. In terms of the tint, I kind of left you guys hanging 2 episodes ago. This car ended up having a factory tint. We applied tint to another Charger that we had. This one is really pretty good. It is the legal tint for where we're living now, but this tint is still in great condition. There's no bubbling or anything like that. The car's a little dusty because they haven't worked on it a little bit, but regardless, the tint even on the rear is still really, really good. So we didn't end up having to fully tint this one. We ended up tinting some of the other Chargers we had and a few other projects, but regardless, this tint should be good. So guys, you kind of just saw the interior and the general path forward for this Charger now that the engine is out and the new interior pieces are in. Again, we decided to do a lot of that work off camera. We had some other things going on at that time, and it just made more sense to fill you guys in this way. When we do the actual reassembly, I think it'll make a lot more sense to you than just taking a bunch of parts off of it. We've been doing that in a lot of our builds lately, just the disassembly videos. So you guys kind of, I think, understand that for the most part. But this one is, I think, most important to understand how we reassemble it with all these new parts, given it's already in an all-wheel drive configuration. I think is the coolest thing. So with all that being said, the next couple of episodes that we're going to drop on this build are going to be entirely related to the rear of the vehicle, so namely the rear subframe, taking that off. We're going to add some brand new parts there for high horsepower applications, new fuel system. We're going to, once we get all the rear subframe done and fuel stuff, we're going to move towards the front of the car, some more modifications to different lines. We'll add some safety stuff onto it for drag race or autocross, things like that. Roll cage probably down the line. So that'll probably be the next several episodes, but the big thing that we're gearing towards is the modification of the powertrain. We've been working really, really hard on understanding that powertrain. We haven't really released too much on that application set because of what we're trying to do with it. There are a few, I'd say, clues on the internet, other people trying to figure out how to make the all-wheel drive Charger really what it should have been in the Hellcat Demon sense. But yeah, we'll kind of show you guys exactly how we go about getting to 1400 horsepower with this all-wheel drive Charger set, just a police car pretty much, in a lot of detail. So again, a lot of other ways you could do this. Again, there's the builds. I know at least one or two for the swap of a Durango or a Trackhawk into these Chargers. Definitely you could do it. The big thing I don't like about it is cutting the floor pan on the driver's side. I think it's just protrusion that's unneeded and fabrication that's unneeded, when a lot of people just don't understand how the transfer case works on these modern all-wheel drive Chargers with the 5.7. They're very also similar to the V6 ones, and a lot of people just completely discount them. In addition, there are other options you can do besides throwing away the subframe and everything else and forcing yourself to do a driver's side drop transfer case instead of the OEM passenger side drop, which is more reminiscent of the Skyline Nissan cars like the GTR. So anyway, that's kind of the understanding there for why we're going about it this way on the project. Thank you guys for watching. Next few episodes are going to be really, really interesting. I hope you guys stay tuned for those. We have a lot of content planned for this all-wheel drive Charger build. Stuff I think a lot of people will not have seen before on how you can build these cars to make a lot of power. So if you have questions, comments, shoot them down below. I'm going to be trying to be as responsive as possible to get these questions answered and what we might be doing. But like I said, we got a lot of content for this one and all of the other builds that are here in the shop. So stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe. Really appreciate all the support you guys can give us. We're trying to really grind down on all of these builds and give you exactly what you guys want to see, which is really cool fabrication, really cool modification, and just see where these projects go. And then hopefully in the future, maybe reach out to some of you guys and tag up with you and bring these builds to you. So we'll catch you guys later in the next episode. Take it easy, faction.